So this is the elementary report card training. We're going to go through the process of preparing for elementary report cards. So we also call these gradebook report cards because we know in the high school world, we call those our 700s or Dazzle report cards. We are going to focus on just elementary. Every elementary building is a little bit different. So some buildings have pre-K through 6, some are K through 3. So it all depends what your building has, but any of the elementary report cards will be printed directly through GradeBook. The difference is with elementary report cards, we have to create a grade card or a report card for every grade level, because typically most of the grade levels at that point in time or at that age or grade level, they have standards attached to them, and the standards are different per grade level. So it makes it easier to have them each individual so that we can have them custom to the grade level that is needed. Okay, a few of you report back to Dazzle. And when I say that is going to student information, those two words can be used interchangeably. So it is going back to student information for the purpose of permanent record labels. So I know Ashland City is on here. They report back. Norwayne is on here. They report back. Those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head, but permanent record labels, that is a different story. If you do have questions on that, please let me know. I will walk you through that, but there is also documentation in the Learning Center that I am going to share with you. So I did share a PowerPoint earlier today with you guys. It was a link to this. We will be going through this a little bit later. We're kind of going to go through the background first before we just jump into printing, because there's a lot of things to prep for it. In the Learning Center, and if you're not sure how to get to the Learning Center, from any of your, whether you're in GradeBook, whether you're in Student Information, if you go to your question mark in the top right, go to the Learning Center. I did a search for GradeBook report cards. So I just typed in GradeBook report cards. GradeBook is all one word. Oops, I can't spell. And then it was the first one that popped up is the documentation that I will be going through. This is kind of summarized in the PowerPoint that I gave you with better screenshots and arrows and a little bit more custom to our districts, but that is one. If you are a district that is using permanent record labels, I'm going to duplicate this tab. From the Learning Center home screen, under Student Information, under Procedural Checklists, and then under Student, there is documentation for permanent record labels and what each of the labels look like. Again, this year, I think there's only 4 districts that are set up to print permanent record labels, but if that is something that your district is interested in the future, when I do the spring meetings to work on report card changes for the 26-27 school year, that would be something to bring up, because that will have to set up during the summertime. Okay. So those are the documents that we will be looking at. So believe it or not, even though we are talking about GradeBook report cards, we are actually going to start in Student Information. So I am going to switch for those of you that have migrated districts such as Hillsdale, Ashland. There's others that have already migrated. It is best to have one tab open versus having both GradeBook and Student Information. You can have both of them open, but I notice you time out more often when you have 2 tabs open. Just a little tip. So I'm just going to switch back and forth. So I'm going to go to Student Information. So what we are going to look at is everything that needs to be done prior to printing report cards. And I know some of you are coming up real quick here. Maybe in the next week or 2, you will be printing your first reporting period, your first 9 weeks report cards. So one thing to look at, and this might not be something that you can do. Some of you do have full access. Some of you have access to all buildings. Some of you just have access to the elementary. But one of the things to look at and to discuss with your district is it's called a district option. So if I go under management, under district administration, there is something called district options. So guess what? If I make any changes to this, it will change for the entire district because it is a district option. So again, it is not something that you should just jump into and say, oh, yep, I want this and check. You want to make sure that you're talking with all of the buildings and making sure this is something the district wants. And some of you might not have access to the screen because you don't have access to district options. But there is one setting in here. It is called the report card setting. Okay. If this is checked, it disables report cards on parent access for any students with an unpaid fee. So if you're just now in the process of assigning fees and things like that, and plus report cards are coming out, you might not want that checked, but later on towards the end of second 9 weeks or third 9 weeks, that might be something the district wants on so that these students start paying their fees. This doesn't quite work as well as it used to now that more parents are on parent access and can see their live grades without necessarily even seeing a report card, but that is an option. Second option, we are going to look at a student. So I am going to put a student in context. And sorry, my fake district has been acting up today, so it's been very slow. So all these students are fake. The only student that you will see information on is my own student. All of these are just jumbled data. So if we look at one of our students, I'm going to look here at two of my students. I'm going to look at Willow and Meadow. So if I click on Meadow, I'm going to go to my student information homepage. I'm going to go to my I want to menu, and I'm going to look at her profile. So if I go to edit student profile, we're going to look at the additional tab. Underneath the additional tab at the very bottom, it does easily get missed because you have to scroll, and sometimes you don't see it because you think everything's on the screen and it's really not. The bottom one is require paper copy of report cards. Now, some districts, and I don't know all of you that don't print anymore, some of you don't print report cards anymore. So if that's the case, this is not really needed. If everything is just digital, you don't have to worry about this. But if you are still physically printing out a report card, or even if you're printing it at the end, if this is not checked, it will not go into the print file. The print file is a PDF. So can you print other ways? Yes, you can. So there are other ways to print, but if you want to print that PDF file, this needs to be checked to require that paper copy. This is also something that could be bulk updated. So if you wanted this for everybody, if you have an ad hoc group for your entire grade level or whatever it might be, under management, ad hoc updates, and student profile bulk update. So on that screen, oops, and I'm not at a district level. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I didn't switch. So you do have to have an ad hoc membership created first. So I'm going to pick my third grade students. That's all I'm working with today is third grade. When I go to my next screen, it is right here and say requires paper copy. And I can switch that everybody requires it. Okay. Now, again, you'll see later, I'm going to show you two different ways to print. You can print through Word or you can print through a PDF. If you're printing through Word, this does not matter to you. If you're going to be printing through the PDF, this is important. Okay. So right now, that's all we are going to look at in student information. We will come back to this a little bit later because the process of finalizing report cards also affects student information. So I am going to switch from student information back to gradebook, where will remain most of the time. The next one is usually set in August. I have something called GradeBook Cleanup. Your progress book point person comes in, we clean out all the old students, we get all the dates and reporting periods set up for the new school year. And this is something that we do look at. I just want to point this out to you. There is only a few of you that have school admin that would have access to this, but I do want to make you aware. So if you are having issues, you might want to talk to your or parent access settings. So it's PA admin. So that's my parent access admin screen. And then I have what is called page level securities. Underneath page level securities, if you are wanting parents to see the official report card, so the PDF of the report card, this needs to be checked under the parent column. So you have gradebook means teacher, parent is obviously the parent, and the student. So if you want the parent and the student to be able to see those report cards, these need to be checked. Okay, this is not an autosave screen, so you would have to save it. Again, some of you do not have access to this, but that would be something your point person would see. So I am going to go back to my home screen. So this is just kind of some background information for you and kind of what it does. Okay. So looking at the report card builder. So this is when I come and meet with your districts and we talk about the report cards. I get to look through it in something called report card builder, but there's a couple things in here that are very important to me to make sure things are working for you. So I'm going to just show you guys again, a lot of you do not have the admin home screen, but I want to make you aware of what I look at when I'm building a report card. So I'm just going to look at my third grade report card here. Okay. So errors are typically bad. So if you do have access and you see errors, unless it's an inactive card, you don't have to worry about it. But typically our mode, we are in active mode. Testing is considered edit mode. Okay. And then for those of you that have permanent record labels set up, it reports back to Dazzle, or what we call student information. Dazzle was the old name for those of you that are newer to the system. So you'll still see Dazzle from here and there. Okay. Okay, so if I go in here, the important one is number 10 here. Do you want to post on parent access? So do I want this third grade report card to be available on parent access? Yes or no? Well, you're like, well, we just looked at the PA admin and we checked the boxes that said see the official report card. Well, that's the official report card. This is what I call the kind of grid view or the details of the report card, but it's not the official. So let me show you what that looks like. Let me pull up my student again that we were looking at earlier. We looked at Meadow. So when I pull up Meadow in parent access, and a parent would click where it says report card, this is what that is saying. Do you want them to be able to see this on the specific date that you say publish it? So this would populate. Notice it's not in the format of the actual report card. Okay. It shows the grade. If you have standards-based marks, those would be available and so forth. Okay. If I don't have that selected on my report card screen, so you'll see if I change this, and it is hit or miss if you have it or not. So some districts say no because they only want the official report card. So I want to show you so you can make your decision for your district or your report cards for your building. So now I put it to no. Sorry, there's a lot of steps to switching something. Now, if I refresh and I look at my report card screen, now it's saying, hey, Meadow, you don't have any report card information. So parents come here and panic and they're like, well, it said report cards were going to be available today. Well, notice this is available and this is where that official paper copy is stored. So sometimes districts like to have that post set to yes, so this does not display. Okay. Are there any questions with that? And again, sometimes, like a lot of times, kindergarten does not have that on because they only want the official report card to be visible. Again, it is per grade level, per report card, whether it's on or off. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on so we can see it later and compare it to the regular report card. Okay. The other thing that is very, very important to me, did I not do that one? Oh, I come to that later. We'll talk about that one later. Sorry. I was moving ahead in my notes. See, this is why I have 5 pages of notes. I should probably follow them instead of trying to think off the top of my head. Okay, next we are going to look at what a teacher sees. So, and kind of their process of what they have to go through so you know that grades are ready to be printed. Okay, so I'm going to get my teacher in context that I'm working with here. It is Miss Snowday. So she is our 3rd grade teacher. And this is her grade book. Okay, so of course, she's going to see all her classes that are assigned to her. However you assign them. A lot of times it is, you know, in this case, she's my 3rd grade teacher. So math 3, reading 3, social studies 3, etc. She might have the same section number, might not. Again, depends on how you schedule. Scheduling is later in March. So if you're new to scheduling, that would be a good training. So these are all my classes. But when I go into a class and I look at a student, so remember we looked at Meadow earlier. So we're going to look at Meadow in a teacher's point of view. So give it a second. So it'll pull up my class list. So here's Meadow. Okay, so I'm going to click on her. And then remember earlier she requested a paper copy. So you can see that that carries over from student information. It does take overnight in order for that to happen in the teacher's gradebook, or if you are printing report cards. Okay, so again, that does take integration, so that overnight process. If I look at Willow, my other student, pull up her profile, you will notice that she says electronic only. Okay, so hers was unchecked and I forgot to show you her, but she is electronic only. Okay, so we'll see that later when we are actually processing the finalized report cards. Okay, the other things that our teachers can see is their progress. So this is what they see for their class. They can also see, I don't know why it's going to that one. They can also see the report card marks here. Okay, so again, the progress is the actual class grade, where the assessment is the report card grade. Remember earlier I showed you a grid view. Okay, so doesn't this look like the grid view that a parent would see in parent access? Okay, but what a teacher also has access to is the official report card. So there is a tab here that says report card. As long as they are finalized, the report cards will be listed here, and you will see I can click directly on it and it will populate the official report card. Okay. That only works if you go through the Finalize process for the teacher. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my teacher's gradebook, back into my math class to look at those students we were just talking about. And sorry, it's so slow. So every teacher has access to see what parents see. Most of the time they're checking it for themselves and what their grades look like in their class or how it's marked. If they marked a student excluded or missing, they're looking at that. But what they can also see is that report card. So I'm going to go back in to my parent access. When a teacher goes into it, okay, and I'll show you how to do it from the principal screen. But when a teacher goes into it, they get to see every student in their class. So they can see the parent access for every student in here. So I'm going to pick Meadow because that's the one that we were looking at earlier. Okay. So then if I go to my report card, it is going to have report card data here for her. If I go up here to my view paper report card, this is going to show you the official report card, the same that you would print out and hand to the child. Okay. So again, that is listed under view paper report card. Now there's dates associated with this. It will only show up after the date that you say. So for example, if some of you, your 9 weeks is ending this Friday, which is the 10th, a lot of times you guys give your teachers till that following Wednesday, which would be the 15th. But then you print report cards, say on Thursday, the 16th, and you hand them out to the kids on the 17th to go home. Well, that's when you would also want the digital report card to become available on the 17th. So what else Finalizing does is it populates something called paper history, and teachers can see this. And this is excellent for you as office staff as well, because if you're like, oh, what did that kid get last year in reading? Should they be on a RIMP this year? Shouldn't they be on a RIMP this year? You know, I want to check their grades. I can go to paper history and it's going to show me all of the report cards that have been finalized. So I have an example to show you. So this is my child. So I'm not showing anybody's personal data except for my own. So this is my child's. So again, same setup, completely different school district, not even a TCCSA district. So if I go to report cards, it's going to show me if there was report card data, which there is not. Their report cards aren't due yet. They still have 2 weeks. So you can see this is completely grayed out. I can't even click on it because it's not available. But what I do have access to is the view paper history. And this is what you as an office staff going into parent access also has access to. So if I go into view paper copy or paper history, you can see every time the report cards have been finalized, whether it's a high school report card, which would be an R700 through StudentInformation, or middle school, or whether it's an elementary. Now, the reason why I show this is let's look at this and analyze this a little bit. Okay, so this goes all the way back to when he was in first grade. So he's a junior now. So I have that entire record. But if we look at this, what happened during his first grade year? Okay, you can see trimester 1, you can see trimester 3, but they never finalized those report cards during that second trimester. So it was not available to parents. Now, for the elementary world, which one is the most important? It would be the last term or the last reporting period, because it should have all, in this case, all 3 trimesters. So if I look, it shows all 3 trimesters. Okay. Now this one, they only finalized it during the first reporting term. So if I look at this report card, I don't have much data because I only have that first trimester. So I can't see the whole entire year because that third trimester was never processed. Okay. Third grade, they did fine. So they switched to quarters. All 4 quarters were processed. Fourth quarter, they forgot the first one. Okay. And then 5th grade, again, except what happened during 2020. Why didn't we have a final report card during 2020? Well, because that's when we shut down. So there was no report card. Then you can see middle school was hit or miss. Okay. So this one only had a third quarter. This one had random. Okay. And then once we got to high school, the process went every quarter. Okay. So that is why it's so important that you're finalizing, because that is what the parents see. Any questions with what parents are seeing on parent access? Okay, still looking at, so I'm going to close out of this. We'll probably come back to this in a little bit. We are still going to look at what the teacher is looking at, because this is something that most of you can control. So a teacher is coming to put in their grades. So I'm going to look at my social studies class. Give it a second to switch. So people call it different things, but what it is it's a window when the teachers have access to be able to submit their grades for the report card. So for example, I have my assignments. Now it is report card time. So as the teacher, I have to get these grades to the report card screen. So if I'm the teacher and I'm looking, so here are all my grades for my students. I'm not going to sit there and jot all this down so I can get this to the report card screen. So the teachers have a link that says enter report cards. Going to be right around here somewhere. I had to scroll down. So right here says enter report cards. So when a teacher clicks on this, okay, they can put all their grades in at once. I'm going to close that so you guys can see more. So what the window does, or some schools call it the bucket, is the bucket open. That gives them the ability to put the check mark here. If the bucket is closed, this checkbox is not available, so they cannot put their grades in. Okay, so we want that to be open during the point. So whether they have a week to put their grades in, whether they have a month to put their grades in, whatever it might be, we want it to be open up to a certain point in time so we can collect those grades. So the teacher will put the check mark there, hit the equal sign, so it'll pull them in from that grid screen that I showed you, and then they will click on save. So now their grades have been submitted to the report card. So they have to do this for every class that they teach. So what happens if that bucket is not open? So for you, it would be on the principal page. So most of you have the principal page. There's a couple of you that only have the clerk page and you do not have access to this. I think there was 2 of you that only had clerk. So you see report cards, but you do not get access to the dates. Okay. So I see what's called report card dates. So you can see that my entry start date is October 6th. So teachers can start seeing that ability, or the ability to put that check mark on October 6th. And this is going to stay all open all the way to the end of the school year. Okay. If you want to close it at some point in time, you can put a specific date in there. So if you're giving them a week, you would, I could say this is going to stay open until 10/10 when we'll do 25. Double check your years because if it changes over, okay? Oh, I do have an extra. Okay. So be careful with this. This is our biggest ticket, our biggest question asked. It says that the teachers can't enter grades, but the window is open. Well, in this case, this closes at the strike of midnight. So they do not have any time on October 10th to put their grades in. So if they have all day on the 10th to put grades in, then put this for 10/11 because it closes at, they have all day the day before. So at the strike of midnight, it closes. Okay. So think of it that way. So do they have that day to put their grades in, or are you close? You can do that as well. Okay. So again, these dates are what the teachers see here on this inter report card screen. Okay. And I did my social studies. Okay. So something else that you are going to see, or some of that you look over, are things called comments. So we are going to go to reading. So teachers have something that are called comments. So they see these little pencils in their grade book. Actually, I'm supposed to be in my math class, sorry. So when they see these little pencils, okay, they can put their comments in, okay? I type this in myself. It is a guesstimate of how many characters they can type. Now, if they're typing huge long words because maybe they're working in this unit of math of measurement, geometry, blah, 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 and they're using a lot of long words. The comments are based on line spaces, not actual character count. So when they see this, this is all the teachers see. Okay, so they're typing the number of characters does not stop them from typing. They can keep going and going. So even though I suggest, hey, keep it to about 350 characters, I can't tell where the line breaks are going to be, where it is. So we do need to double check that. Also, make sure that they're aware it's getting better, but certain symbols like the and sign and sometimes an apostrophe, symbols like that sometimes get distorted when it goes through the conversion process to print. So just be aware of that. If they have a lot of symbols in there, it might show up as funky characters. It's usually like a percent sign and slash and a couple other things that adds everything to it. Okay, so just be aware of that. So again, that is how the teachers see it, is just, I type this in and then they get a character count. So when I try to meet with the teachers, I do try to talk about this a little bit. All of the comments on the report card are set to 8-point Arial font. Okay, so I give that estimate, but when I create a report card, I have to choose how many lines it's going to be, whether it's 2 lines, 4 lines, 7 lines, or 14 lines. Depending on your report card, there is one that has 12, but it's not a common report card size. So I try to put approximately 125 characters, 300, etc. Okay. Again, it's not going to stop them. So that's something that you need to double check. There are 3 different types of comments that the report cards can have. One is called a current comment or occur comment. So again, I'm picking line spaces. I'm not picking character count. I just get to see, hey, occur comment with 2, 4, 7, or 14. That's all I get to see. Quarterly comments, So this is a running tally of all their comments. It displays all of the quarters and or trimester, depending on what your building is. Okay. And then the most popular, especially at the kindergarten and first grade level, are the teacher comments. Those are the ones that take up like the whole back page, and teachers can type a book in there because it's like, I don't know, it's like 1,500 characters or something they get in there. Okay. So this is what it looks like on the report card side, but the teachers don't see it this way. They only see that box that doesn't stop them. Okay. Any questions with the teacher look or what the teacher sees? Okay. I'm going to show you guys a list of report cards. Oh, no, let's switch to green. Okay. So you're going to see a few different things in the report cards. So this is something that I name it. If you don't like the name of it, you can let me know and I can adjust it. But typically it has a couple things. It will have the grade level because I need to know what grade I'm working with. Okay. If it does have a school year, and I'll switch back to Hillsdale here. If it does have a school year associated with it, that means it was updated for that school year. Okay, so all of these were updated for 25-26. Now, green, we're looking at green, and you're saying, well, why doesn't green have 25-26? Because they didn't request any report card changes for this school year. So these are the exact same as what they were last year. So I remove the date. So I know that those are being reused. Other things that you will see in the report card name is CS2. That means custom setup 2, which that means I have to run a utility that pushes standards into the teacher's report cards so they can standards-based grade. Okay, so that's all that stands for. Back in the day, and I can see their old cards are still, their modified standards are still using it. I used to use SB for standards-based, but people thought it was my initials, so I had to stop using that. So CS2 is the actual term inside of GradeBook, so I switched it to that. Other things that you will see is an asterisk. If you see an asterisk at that means that I know somebody, one of the classes, doesn't want to standards-based grade, because this is a standards-based report card. And in this case, I believe it's their social studies class. They don't standards-based grade. Okay, so then I go in there, or I send a document when I send the draft and say, hey, remind your teachers to change this. And so they know they can put it back to how they want it. Okay. The other thing that you will see, and I'll switch here, is you will see something called default. So that means they're not standards-based grading. They're just grading like a middle school or high school would. They put an assignment in and it averages to a letter grade. Okay. And then again, this one you see default with the asterisk. That means because someone in there doesn't want to grade by the default, they want a standards-based grade. So I know to give them the documents to change it to that. Okay. So a lot of these are for my purposes. But I just want to explain that because it does make sense to me, but a lot of times it doesn't make sense to other people. Okay. The other thing that I look at, and let me get back to my test district. The other thing that I look at, and this is very important, especially at the beginning of the school year or summer when you guys are scheduling. If you guys are adding or removing any courses, I need to be aware of that. For example, 2 years ago, I think everybody was adding a technology class to their report card. So they wanted it graded, so I needed to add that in here. Because notice there's no technology, so right now it will not print. Okay, it can get assigned to the teachers. The teachers can see it in their grade book, but it's not going to go anywhere. Now I feel like this year technology is being removed because it's being replaced with something else, some type of like STEM or some grouped class together. So again, if I need to remove it, if I leave it on here, it's going to print a blank space on the report card until I remove that class. If you make any changes to classes, so for example, when I'm scheduling in SIS, I'm scheduling this class called 3Read or Reading-3 is the full name. But on the report card, we call it Language Arts. So next year I decided, well, instead of scheduling reading, I'm going to schedule it as Language Arts. If you're creating a new course, I need to know that so I can add it to this report card. So for example, you can see here, there are 3 different types of math classes. I have my gifted math class, my gen ed math class, and my special ed math class. All 3 of them have to be attached or the teachers aren't going to see them. Okay. The teachers, if they are not attached here, the biggest indicator the teachers will see an all gray sign on that enter report card screen. Okay, so for example, if I go back into, oops, I switched districts. Hold on, let me get back snow day. So Miss Snow Day has a writing class. I think it's writing. Yep. So she has a handwriting class here. Which I didn't schedule anybody to it. But if I look at the report card screen, I can't do it because I didn't schedule them. It will be completely gray. So they'll see the students' names, but they will not be able to enter their grades. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay. So we're going to go to our principals page. So I think a majority of you have this. A few of you have clerical, which on the clerical page, yours is right here. You have most of the reports that I'm going to talk about. You just cannot modify those dates. So I'm going to go from a principals page because that's what a majority of you have. So a couple things that you can do. One is make sure that that window is open or closed for when you're getting ready to prepare for the report card. Next, we are going to look at something called report card verification report. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, I want to look at my 3rd grade report card. I'm going to leave the teacher open. I want to see if any teachers didn't submit their grades. So I'm going to hit submit. So it is showing me that Miss Snowday did not submit her 3rd grade reading. So anybody on this list, you're going to say, hey, you know what? You need to get these grades submitted. Grades closed tonight at midnight. Or if you want to be specific, 11:59:59. Okay. So you're going to tell Miss Snowday, then she's going to go in there and go back to Miss Snowday, her reading class. She's going to go to her intro report card screen. And you're going to tell her to make sure she submits. So she's going to do the check mark equals. Okay. And then she's going to save it. So the day is over. You told all the teachers that were on that list. You're going to come back to verify again. Going to leave it open. And you're going to see this message. No exceptions were found. So that's a good thing. That's meaning whoever was marked to be verified was verified and they have submitted. Now, you're thinking, oh, this is great. However, a lot of our courses that are just standards do not get verified. Okay, so for example, and this is something else I want to show you, report card data. Okay, so if I look at report card data, I'm going to come in here and, I need to remove my teacher. Hold on one second. Okay. Back to my principal screen. I'm going to go to report card data. And you can pick a student. So you have access to see a specific student. So I'm going to pick one of my students again, and I'm going to look at Meadow. I'm going to say, okay, well, I see her reading. I see math and social studies and science. Wait a second. There's nothing marked here for physical education. But my teacher didn't show up on that list. So because this course does not have an overall grade, a lot of times, most of the times, the individual standards are not marked to be verified, or it wouldn't work because for example, math, they don't go over everything every quarter. So they can't be marked as individuals, say, yep, they're required to be marked. So because this doesn't have an overall grade, it's not in the report. So it's especially your specials teachers, and sometimes science and social studies don't have overall grades. None of your kindergarten seem to. They never do. Actually, no kindergarten has an overall grade. Sometimes first grade doesn't either. So again, you're just going to have to remind them, make sure everything is in. But this is, you can check one kid per grade level and see, if something is missing, or a couple kids. Okay. So again, I can't have it marked then it would flag it if they didn't work on, like, for example, this, maybe they weren't working on fractions. Well, it's going to flag to say, hey, math wasn't submitted. Well, it was submitted. They just didn't work on fractions this quarter. Okay. Okay, now we are ready. We've double checked everything. Teachers have submitted everything. We ran our verification report. Now we are ready to run our report cards. Okay, so here is our report card. And if you're on the clerical page, it's going to be in the same spot. You'll have the same three. You'll have the first three. Okay. The first way that you are going to do this, and a lot of you do it this way and this way only, is running it with the preliminary run. So if I click on Run Report Card, I'm going to make sure it's on preliminary. I'm going to select my report card. And then I am now in the packet if you do want to follow along. I think nope, we're not to slide 2 yet. This is right before slide number 2. So I'm going to pick, we're running grade 3. It's the preliminary run. It is going to ask me what reporting periods I want to show. Okay. So I'm going to choose GP1. Yours might say quarter 1. Yours might say QTR 1. Yours might be a trimester 1. Whatever your district uses and use during initialization, that's what you are going to see here. Now, what I'm going to say about this, and even during the preliminary run, if it is the end of the year, you need to check all of them. And if you have a final, check the final. Because if I only do this, guess what? It's only going to print that 4th column. It won't print columns 1, 2, and 3. So that's the important thing for the preliminary. You do have to select what you want to print. Now, because I have current comments, this will automatically populate. So if I look here, okay, so see how nothing is there? When I go to my third grade report card and I select a reporting period, it says what reporting period for the current comment. Make sure they match. If you're printing for fourth quarter, make sure this is fourth quarter, because that box only will print one at a time. Okay. A couple of you have multiple buildings. Just make sure it is on the default building or the building that you want to print. Okay, so if you have multiple elementaries and you have access to multiple elementaries, those are going to be listed here. Grade level, it will default to the grade level that I picked for the report card. There are some cases, for example, I'm going to use Ashland City. I know their fourth grade report card also includes fifth grade for those kids taking fifth grade math. So just in that case, double check that it is on the correct grade level that you want to print. Okay. If you want to check by homeroom, this is again completely optional. If you want to check by homeroom, you can click and it will populate any of your homerooms, official homerooms. Okay, so those will be listed there. So I'm just going to print for Miss Snowday. That's it. If you needed to rerun one student, okay, this looks like you can type in there and you're like, yep, I'm going to reprint. Okay, you need to click on the search box. Okay, so you have to come to search and then you have to type in the student's name here. Once I click go, I would pick the individual student that I would want to print. And notice it's not even their student number, it's a gradebook number, a number that means nothing to us. It only means something to Frontline when they are looking up data on a student. So I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to put in a description, say Mrs. Snowday homeroom. And I'm going to submit. This process is quick. Okay, goes really fast. I can now view my saved reports. So you can see here, it is pulling that report card name that I have named it. The description is for you and you only, for you to see here. And then when it was ran. Okay. If you want to look at it, you click on the report card name. I click, there it goes. Okay, so it'll populate your RTF, which it will open in Word as long as you have Word on your computer. If you don't have Word and it tries to open in Google, it will throw the formatting all off. I will tell you that. So here's my report card and it is going to print my students. So I'm going to look through things, make sure everything's in place. I'm going to make sure my comments are okay and I don't have any weird craziness. Okay, so you're going to skim. Again, these are the quarterly comments. So all 4 of them at the end will print, where in this case, this is a current comment. So you can see it only has room for 1. Okay. So if everything looks right, then you're ready to finalize. If something is not right, you're like, oh, my phys ed teacher forgot to submit their grades. I better go tell them. So then they have to go submit their grades. Okay. Another thing that you want to double check, I can't do this in the summer when I'm making the changes. I get to see 1 report card. That's it. I don't get to see a full class. 99% of the time, the page break is perfect, which means when it skips from one student to the next, there's no issues. Sometimes there's an extra space in there that will throw everything off, and I don't see it because I don't have multiple students. So just scan through the first couple. As long as the page break is correct, the rest of them will be correct. If you notice it starts going down line by line, it's going to get thrown off somewhere, and that's where you need to put in a ticket and let me know to fix. There's an extra space somewhere. Okay. Again, I can't see it. It just pulls up a fake random student and I get to see one. That's it. So now if everything is correct, we are ready to finalize. Okay. So that is the next process. So that is the PowerPoint that I gave you. Okay. We're going to start going through this. You can also follow along on this screen by going to Finalize Report Cards. It has more text where I have more pictures. Okay. So either one of those. Okay. So what is the purpose of finalizing your report card? There are 3 things that it does. So first, one of the important things is the report card entry dates, which we've already talked about for the teachers, but the published date is when it becomes available on parent access. So that's an important column. So if you don't want it to show up for another week, you better put that week's date in there. And when we're going through the finalizing process, it is going to pull this date. Can you adjust it? Yes, but wouldn't it be nicer just to click OK and it's already there? So it's going by this date. Okay. If there's a snow day in the middle of winter and that date needs to get changed, you can change it here, or you can just manually change it when you're finalizing. We already know that when we are looking at a student, that if I go to parent access and I look at my student, that their report card information is here and it populates a PDF. We also know that if I had a teacher in context, which I'll do that real quick, if I have a teacher is looking at their screen and they're looking at a specific student, the teacher also has access to be able to see a student. So if they click on any student and go in their profile in GradeBook, hurry up. It's thinking. So if I click on Meadow, it populates the report card here for that student. The other thing which is beneficial for you is in student information. So you don't have to switch. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to go to student information. I am going to put my student in context. I don't know why the fake elementary school has been so slow. So I'm going to go into Meadow. And by finalizing, it populates it in the I want to menu. So if you're coming here to see their profile or you're looking at their contacts or whatever, notice once a report card is finalized, it will populate this. I want to view the latest report card. If I click on that in student information, it populates the PDF for me. Then I can see their grades. Because none of their grades come over to student information, except for my schools that do permanent record labels. Okay, but that is a way for you to see the student's report card without having to search and rerun and all of that stuff. A student that if you do not finalize the report card, if you come to the I want to menu, it'll say there's no report card available. Okay, so again, very helpful for you. I'm going to switch back to GradeBook and let's go through this process. So step number 1 is clicking on that final. So we're going to run report cards again, but instead of doing preliminary, we are going to do final. This is after I've double checked everything. So I'm going to do my third grade report card. And notice I don't have those check boxes because it knows that say, hey, if I pick grading period 4, it's going to do everything up to that point in time as well, because it knows that you are publishing this with all the data on it. So I'm going to pick GP1. I want my current comments for GP1. And then same options down here. So so say you had one student, they'd been absent for 2 weeks, maybe they had surgery and they were out. That was during the report card time. Now the grades got put in and you want to post that on parent access. You can just post the one and finalize just that one, and it will put it on parent access. I'm going to do mine by my homeroom. It will do all of third grade. I wouldn't worry about it because the report card name has the grade level in it. Okay, but if you're doing by report or by homerooms, then I would do it this way. And depending on if you are printing or not printing at your district might determine if you are going to do it by homerooms or not. Okay. Once I click on submit, a few things are going to happen. I'm not going to click submit here because I already have some stuff staged so you guys can see the process. Oh, nah, I'll do it. It might finish by the time I'm done talking. So you'll see it says view the reports just like it did for the preliminary. So now I'm going to come to this screen. So there are three different steps. So the first one is the RTF. So it's taking that RTF that you just looked at the preliminary, and it is converting it to a PDF. So it's taking every single student and it's taking all that data and it's changing it over. Okay, so you can see that it's converting. Okay, do I have access to still print these if I am in the process? Of course I do. If I click on the name over here, I can click on it and you can see that I can download the Word documents, or I can click on each student and print one individually. And that is wrong. Why is she populating there? She's not supposed to be because I changed her. She should not have that printer. I'm not sure why she does, because she says electronic only. I'll have to look into that. But that's if you uncheck that box earlier that I showed you, the required paper copy, these little printers will disappear. So you can see I can, it's in a Word format. So I can click on the Word format. I can click on the student's name, or I can see the whole homeroom at a glance by clicking here and printing it from here. It is not published yet at this point in time. Okay. So that's step number 1, or process number 1. Process number 2 means that it has converted. So it's converted over all of the documents to PDFs. So if I click on this one, you can see now for just Meadow, that's why I used her as my example, it has converted her to a PDF. So notice this symbol is different. If I click on it, it's not going to open up a Word document anymore. It will open the PDF. I still have access to the entire classroom or homeroom by clicking on this if I had multiple students. Okay. Then the long process is going from step number 2 to step number 3. This is where it has to finalize everything. It stores it in what we call the vault, which is the archive of student information. Notice I said student information. Yes, it stores it there, not in GradeBook. Okay, so it's going through all of this. It's going through that process. So in order to go through that process, I have to click on that Finalize button. So when I click on Finalize, it's going to ask me two things. It should automatically pre-populate these two things as well. Display as GP1. What did you select in the dropdown? GP1, GP2, GP3, or if you're trimesters, maybe it's trimester 1. Notice what date do I want it available on? That is pulling from that published date of the report card entry screen. Notice it says the report card will become available at 12 a.m., 12:01. Okay. So it's already past that time, so they're already available, or would be automatically available. So all I have to do then is click on OK, and it will process this. Okay. I'll click on it. I don't know if it might not finish. So this process runs in the background. Okay. It sometimes takes a long time depending on the size of your school. And the conversion process doesn't process 24/7. It looks through, scans through. Oh, there's something. I'm going to start processing. So an hour later, it's going to look through and then it'll start processing. So this can take a while. So with that being said, let's look at some that are done. So you can see it's still pending. It's waiting to be published. Once it's done and all the way through the process, step number 4, that's why it's not really a step. It just says, hey, I'm done. Okay. But then what it does is it gives me my print file. So if I click on my print file, it's going to show me all of my students. So here's Willow. Oh, I only did Willow. That was for her. Okay. So let me go to that. Is this one Meadow? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So the print file would be all of your students in your homeroom. So if you did not have a student that has a little printer next to their name, it will not be in the PDF or that print file. However, it will be in this one. Okay, so this shows all of them, the entire homeroom. This one only shows the ones that say require for paper copy. And then notice this one says it's been published. Okay, and I think, let me go back to Meadow. I think it was. It must have removed it. Oh, I had it staged too. Sometimes you will get an error, and I will get errors in this one. Excuse me. Because it was Meadow earlier, she did not have an SSID. So if there is something important that is missing from that student, it will not publish it and it will populate an error. I don't know. I didn't delete it. I can't delete it. I don't know where it went. So, but now she has this. Oh, because I ran it again. Oh, that was my fault. I updated her and then reran it. So it overrides. As long as you keep the same reporting period and the same published date, it will override. So, and that's what it did, but it took away the error message. Okay. So those are the 4 steps. Now, suggestion, if you have, because some of you have, like I said, pre-K through 6, some of you might have only pre-K through 3, whatever. Get these to the point where you can click that Finalize button and they can run overnight. Okay. You don't want them, I mean, they can run during the day, but you know, if you just have them processed overnight, by the time you get back, they'll be done. Okay. And you can see this one's already done. So it's already converted to PDFs. So if I click on my report here, you can see it's all in the PDF format. Okay. And then these students that don't have SSIDs, they will have error messages. But it's not yet published. Okay. It's just Meadow. I'll try to finalize this. I doubt it'll be done. Okay. So if I click on that, click OK. And again, it will override. So as you're rerunning, as long as you're keeping the same grading period and you're keeping that same publish date, it will just overwrite what you had before. If you just have one student, like I said, that student that was out, the teachers finally submitted grades, you can just run a single student like I did here. And it will publish just that one student. It will not affect any of the others. Okay, so that's what you do if you make a mistake. Now, if you you're like, oh, I wasn't supposed to run these. I want these gone. I shouldn't have even processed this. Okay. So if that is the case, then you do have to go to student information. So if I switch to student information, I'm at the elementary level and I am going to, in my go-to box, I am going to type in archive because I don't know the breadcrumb trail off the top of my head. So it's archived report card maintenance. So if I click on that, I got to get my student out of context. So you can see here that I have published and 2 students' report cards have been published. Okay, because remember my other ones are still processing. So if by some chance I ran it wrong, whatever it might be, I can come here and delete it. It will delete them from parent access. It will delete it from the I want to menu. It'll delete it from the teacher's gradebook. Okay. If I just have one student or I just want to redo it, I can redo it and it's going to overwrite. So you don't typically remove them, you're just overwriting them. Okay, but maybe you processed them too early and you're like, oh, we don't want them published on the 8th because we moved it back a week. Now we're going to publish them on the 16th. So then you can delete that and republish them. I can come up to my edit. If I don't like, you're like, oh, Shelly explained what all that means. I don't like why it says CS2. I can come in here and I can rename it. Okay. The only problem with renaming it is if I do rerun it, it's going to create a new copy. Okay, it doesn't overwrite once you change the name of it. Okay. So that's the only downfall to renaming. But if you know everything's perfect, it's published, it's good, you're not going to make any changes to it. If you don't like CS2 in the name, you can remove it. Just know that if you rerun, a student's going to see one that says grade 3 report card and whatever you put, and then grade 3 report card parentheses CS2. Okay. Any questions with finalizing? I'm going to go back to gradebook and see, cross our fingers that maybe it will finalize, but I doubt it. Okay, so to go back, so yeah, maybe it's the next day. You started these all overnight and you want to see if they finished processing. I'm going to go back to my principal page. Instead of running, I am going to go to view. So view saved report cards. And then you can see that it's still, in this case, it's still processing. Okay. Okay. Last few things, and then I will get you guys out of here so you have some time at the end of your day. So possible errors that you might see or a teacher might see and come complain to you about because you're the person that's running them. So a teacher's like, I can't enter my grades. So we already talked about one reason is that the course is not attached to the report card. So if it's completely grayed out, they don't have any place to put their grades. It's not attached to the report card. If they don't have the checkbox above first 9 weeks, the first grading period, we know that the window's not open or the bucket. So those report card dates. The other thing that you might see is if we are testing it for any reason, testing means that we're editing it, making changes, trying things out. A teacher cannot get into the gradebook when it's in testing mode. So what a teacher is going to see is this when it loads. It will give them an error. So if they show that they're ready to put their grades in, it's going to show this. This report card is currently under construction. Grades cannot be entered. So they're going to come to you and say, I can't enter my grades. You're going to put in a ticket and say, it says the report card's under construction. It is one of two things. It is either under construction because we have it in testing, or the other thing that I tend to do is a compile is needed after you take it out of testing. So I make it active, I hit save, but it still needs to compile. And what that means is it just looks to make sure that everything is working properly. If something is not working properly, it's going to give me an error. So if it's not compiled, if I see this, the teachers still will not be able to enter their grades. Okay. So those are three possible things. Course not attached, it's being edited, or it needs to be compiled. Okay, a few reports. So if you are a true standards-based report card, some of these reports don't work for you. Some of you at your upper levels, you are just doing default report cards. So maybe like sometimes it's third, fourth, and fifth. Sometimes it's just fourth and fifth. It might just be fifth. You're just a default report card. So some of these do work for you. So it just depends, but I do want to share a few of these so you are aware of them. Again, they are on the principals page. They are also on the curriculum page, except for the ineligibility report. I think that's the only one that is missing. So I say that 5 times fast. Ineligibility report is the first one right here. If I click on that, you set your own criteria. So if you're saying you just want to see kids with, if they're ineligible for something based on getting a D or an F. So first thing I'm going to do, select my school. If you want to select the grades, if not, you can just leave it all grade levels. What reporting period? If you want to select a few students, you can. If not, just leave them all selected. But down here is the important part where it says ineligibility GPA criteria. We don't necessarily develop a GPA for our students at this level, but we can say, hey, you know what? We're going to say if it's less than so a D would be a 2. A is 4, B is 3, C is 2, D is 1. So I want to say anybody that's less than or equal to a 2, that would be a C. So I can say run the report. And then you can see here, Foster has a C in social studies. Jameson has C's in math, reading, and social studies. And then Speedy has a C as well. Okay. Now it's not going to show, like an overall GPA or anything because we don't calculate that at this level. Okay. So whatever it is equal to, less than or equal to a 2, it will populate. Okay. These are report card grades. So you might not see anything right at the moment because you have not submitted report cards. Okay, so until you submit report cards, you are not going to see this information. Or, sorry, teachers have submitted report card information. Okay, so that is one where you can kind of customize it a little bit to what you want. Another one is seeing the actual report card marks for your students. So it is it's a report builder report. It is on the right-hand side. Clerical, you should have them on the right-hand side as well. And it is called Report Card Marks Admin. You want the one that says Admin. So this is going to do exactly what it says. I want to see the report card marks for my 3rd grade report card for Mrs. Snowday. Okay, and for the 1st grading period. And you can pick multiples if you wanted to. So if it's, throughout the year. And then I'm going to say view the report. You can set optional fields. So, if you want certain parameters, you could, but you can see this is going to show each student what their mark was, including comments. So, I mean, no, it's kind of squished all together there, but it will show the comments here as well. Okay. So that is another one that is kind of helpful to check things over. Those of you that are just a default report card, you can use one called student averages. So the student average review, it is suggested that this is for regular report cards, not standards-based or CS2 report cards. So I'm going to run this for my elementary school. Okay, and then you can see social studies was not a standards-based class. However, math and reading were, so they did not populate, but social studies was not. So it does show the average for the students in there. And notice it says secondary schools, but it's anything that is not CS2. Okay. So again, I know some of you online, your 4th and 5th grade report cards are not standards based, so this report will work. And then the other two that I'm going to show you, this was created for elementary, this TCCSA honor roll. I don't know if it's because I have such a slim amount of students, but it was not working for me. So I was going to do some research on that, why it's not working. I might wait until after the 9 weeks with some of you guys and see if I can get it to work properly. But again, that was a custom report for honor rolls for within GradeBook for the elementary report cards. So the other two are the TCCSA student marks and the student marks D and F. Okay. Make a note with these two. These are the marks from the teacher's gradebook. These are not report card marks. Okay. The ineligibility and the report card marks come from the report card. The student marks and the student marks D and F come from the teacher's gradebook. So if I go to the teacher's gradebook, I'm going to pick the elementary school. Again, you can filter out if you want, but then I can see each of my students, each of their courses, what their mark is in the teacher's gradebook. So here's my teacher. And each of these, when they're custom reports, so they're kind of set up. But you can come down and add and remove columns if you're like, oh, I don't need to know the student's ID. You can uncheck that and rerun the report and it will take it off. Okay. If you don't want the course section, you can remove that. So all depending on what you want to see and don't want to see, those are listed here. And then you can see all of your column headings are your filters. So if you want to filter a specific way. Okay, I'm going to go back just to see if anything has, yay, look, they both processed while I was out of there. So This one processed perfectly, but this was my one student. This was Meadow. So she processed. If I go back to my saved, it got to this part of finalizing, but I have errors. So if I look and I click on this, it is going to show me who has errors. But notice that even though these students have errors, these students published. So all of these students have published to parent access, to student information in the I want to menu. Okay. A lot of times the students with errors are withdrawn students who have left the district. Okay, any questions? Thank you for joining. And again, if you have any questions, just let us know.